can't hit with runners in scoring position shouldn't score 6 runs against Chris Sale.
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
Grandi and Dibs, crossover.
My guys, my friends.
I love it.
Was that Steiny doing a Guru?
I don't know who that was. We need to bottle that up. But this dude, we're so different, Evan. Grandi.
That's Grandi.
Yeah,
they live together.
I got you.
Oh, so we all look alike now.
Yeah,
I get
that's on me.
it. I get it.
But if you love baseball and you know that you're facing a stud like Chris Sale is,
try not to strike
first
out.
and third, because Laureano acts like he's in Pony League.
They gifted you first
and third. He thinks I'm missing the fact that it's tough to score off of Chris Sale. But when you get Laureano going Little League, first and third, your whole season hitting-wise is marred by runners in scoring position. You failed. Even when you win games, you feel like you left for like 3 or 4. Hey, but it's okay. But not to get any runs in the first, a sac fly, maybe a squeeze, because I know Melvin were struggling, and he thinks in his computer, I'm saying they should have scored 6 runs on Sale. No.
All you needed was one.
That was a great pitch last night.
It was, but, Steiny's not wrong about the first inning. Like, at least scratch out one because, they're not going to try to squeeze you knowing that 0-0 is going to be the way this goes. So just get one.
It's hard.
Hit a sac fly or maybe, find a hole with a ground ball. Do what you need to do, and then you get all the way into the 10th, and at that point,
Jazz's at-bat has been the at-bat that Chapman's had. They all had. Conforto, you do anything but a strikeout.
Right.
Well, Sale's good.
No, it was the reliever who was throwing at the time. But come on.
You do not need to get a hit to get a run in when he's on second and nobody out. 2 productive outs. That's all
I don't
you
think
need.
the Braves got a hit, did they? In the
They
10th?
had one hit to get the run into third, with nobody out.
Oh, that's right. It's base hit and then the
How many hits did they end up with? Like 3? The Braves?
Both teams
3 or 4?
Yeah, 7 total between the 2.
4 to 3. Yeah, something like that.
Great pitching matchup, man.
An awesome pitching matchup.
Yeah, and we expected that, and so now tonight's not a must-win, but as I was saying on our thread, that you got to win. You got to win 2 of the next 3.
Because you lose ground a whole game if you lose one of these.
You lose 2 games. Yeah. If you go 1 and 3, and they go 3 and 1, that's 2 games.
Okay, all right, got you,
my friend.
Right.
So if you split it, then you split it. It's like splitting the baby, which is one of the worst expressions ever, by the way. Because
I've never liked it.
Have you ever split the baby? And the other one is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. First of all, you don't throw out the bathwater; you drain the tub. And believe me, I'm a guy who gives a bath to a baby 7 nights a week, and somehow I'm on bath duty. Rush home, gobble your dinner, and then go give the bath. But that's neither here nor there.
And let me just add a little more information
Steiny.
and context to the baseball thing, because it's easy to say, oh, well, if they win 2 out of 3, it's 3 out of 4.
The math is still there, Steiny.
The reality of the situation is the reason you want to win 2 out of the next 3 is because then you get a split, and then you have the tiebreaker over the Atlanta Braves.
Because you won that series in Atlanta earlier this season.
Yeah. Look at my man.
Chestnut checkers.
Additional
You've been sitting on that for 4 hours. My man.
Yeah. So.
Plus, you have the White Sox coming in, and,
Yeah,
they're
laid
hapless.
one on the Yankees.
They did. At this point, man. I'm going to give you a 1. Any new news from the Rappaport report? Come on. Your boy's tired.
1?
I guess it depends how you define news, but this seems like a new development.
So who's
no trade, but
who has the ball in their court? The Niners or Aiyuk?
Aiyuk. It's time to Schmidt or get off the pot.
The Niners have the ability to keep the ball in their court, but they've handed it off to Aiyuk, in my opinion.
But Dibs, if he doesn't sign as John Hancock, they don't have any. The ball's not in the Niners' court.
Well, they trade him. And
they've agreed in principle to the trade with the Steelers.
Which means Pittsburgh's giving them something.
Have they, Grandi?
According to reports.
If you believe Ian Rappaport, yeah.
Do you believe the sheet?
Yeah, I go to Filipponi. I'm still on last week.
Right, and Filipponi says they've been at the goal line for 2 weeks now, which this is the longest goal line stand. I think Grandi said this earlier. Longest goal line stand in trade talk history. The Steelers are at the goal line.
They don't want to leave each other. I've been trying to give him the love analogy. He's just like, they don't want to leave each other. I firmly believe that, Dibs.
But sometimes you've got to go.
I understand it.
I don't know if you've ever ended a relationship.
You just missed the last 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I was out there, grinding over show prep and doing some live reads for the next 3 days when I'm going to be off. So trying to check those boxes.
You've been bragging about your little endorsement game. I don't like it. You normally don't do that. You've been throwing it in our face. Baby Shaq. No, you know what I mean, Dibs.
Yeah.
We don't all have it like that.
Much like Shaq, go ahead and try and stop me. Because right now, when I get the ball in the low post,
Tiny,
which
get your
is
boy.
in the sales pit, I can't be stopped.
I love it.
You can hack a Shaq, fine. I'm going to dunk on you, and it's going to be an and one.
Well,
Come at me. Come at me, on-air talent.
I got Atco and Prize Picks. Your
No,
boy
you're doing
hemorrhaging
great.
over
And you've got the Dan Daly thing now.
I
Which,
get nothing for that.
What?
Oh, that's on you.
I get
There's no way.
0.00.
That's your friend.
I mean, he gave me a golf shirt.
I got two of
Tiny,
them.
no way.
I got 2 golf
He
shirts.
doesn't spend enough money for me to get a residual.
It's just so great. Anyway, I'm not trying to make this about me. It's about Brandon Aiyuk.
there you
And
go.
I do think that they have called his bluff and said, okay, BA, we have a trade with Pittsburgh. Do you want to go to Pittsburgh and make whatever, $2 million more, $3 million more, $4 million more than what we're offering you? Or you can come to heel and you can come back in and we offered you 26. And 26 was that, and 26 is what we have now. So do you want to play for 26 or do you want to play for 14 or do you want to go be a Steelers? That's your choice, Brandon. It's time.
And if everything we've heard leading up to this was true, why hasn't the deal happened yet? Because Aiyuk apparently loves Mike Tomlin and wants to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. If that's the case, the Niners have agreed in principle to the deal with the Steelers, and the Steelers are in good standing with Aiyuk in terms of an extension. What's holding up the trade from going down?
Let me help you out, young fella. I would tell you your intel is not correct. It appears that he loves Mike Tomlin. He's talking that talk like he wants to be out of the Bay. He doesn't
That's
want
my
to.
point. So it's up to Aiyuk. The Niners are leaving the ball in Aiyuk's court. Aiyuk is deciding if he wants to take a slight raise and go play for a much worse team or stay where
Now,
he has
they
a
made
chance
the
to win.
playoffs last year, Steelers did.
Yeah,
I
they're
hear
not
you.
very
I got
good.
you. I got Russell Wilson.
Who's their quarter? Yeah, Russell Wilson. Jeez.
But I do wonder if a trade is in place, and the Niners have always said that they kind of want a player from Pittsburgh. Who would that player be?
Thank you.
And
At
that,
this
for me, is the
juncture?
part of it, Steiny,
It's a
that I'm
great
so
question.
fascinated by. Is it a receiver? Is it an interior lineman? Is it a linebacker? Is it a guy in the secondary?
Wouldn't that
Who
have
is
leaked out,
it?
though? Wouldn't the name have leaked out?
Well, if Kyle wants it out.
I like.
I mean, maybe Pittsburgh doesn't want it out. I don't know why it wouldn't be out because, right now I think that Kyle and the Niners want this out, which is, look, Brandon, you requested a trade and we had one with New England. You said no. We tried with Cleveland and it didn't work out. And Pittsburgh seemed to be your number one destination. And you know what, Brandon? We've got it done with Pittsburgh. Now what are you going to do? Now what do you want? So for me, this feels like a Niner power play that this got out to let everybody know this is on Brandon. Either Brandon wants to be a Niner for 26 or he wants to go be a Steeler for 28 grand. He
And
was
that's
throwing out.
real.
Maybe it's 29. Whatever it is, it's not 33 with New England or 32 plus.
And if we were in the streets, I'm Team Aiyuk, and I have been. But I am disappointed that he talked that talk. I want to fight. I want to do this. Meet me here after
Yeah.
lunchtime.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't show up. Why? What's taking so long? You either want to get out of here, you feel disrespected, but there's some gnawing at me that he can't make that move. He don't want to leave.
Well, maybe he doesn't want to meet at the bike rack at 3:15 because that's what it was at Oak Manor Elementary in Fairfax.
Oh,
And
boy.
shout out Fairfax. You would call someone out. It would be like at recess, Grandy, I call you out. And then the other person would say, I accept. And then the follow-up would be 3:15 at the bike rack. And I'll never
I've
forget
seen a lot at the bike
my
rack.
good friend Jason Bowler, who was the only person of color at Oak Manor in my
Black?
7th grade year, light skinned, but yes, he was black. And he was my best friend, one of my best friends. And he got called out and he accepted. And we went to the bike rack and he got absolutely taken apart.
Oh, it happens.
And so it happened. And we had scheduled a day where I was going to go to his house at the apartment nearby in Fairfax. And I remember, I'll never forget walking from the bike rack back to his house and, giving him a
You
couple
got
of...
knocked the. Oh, you
Dude, he
didn't do
got
that too.
bloody nose, black eye.
Yeah.
It didn't go great for Jason Bowler, but that's kind of where Brandon Aiyuk is right now. The Niners have said, I call you out, and if he accepts, then it's going to be meet you at the oak tree or the bike rack. I don't know where it was for you in the Yoon, but for us, it was always the bike rack.
Yeah, the alley.
You're listening to the 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. The part that I'm not convinced about is this. What if we heard that the Niners, if they don't get a player, what have we heard they want?
Picks.
Yeah, what specifically?
First round pick.
First round pick. I do not believe the Steelers are going to give the 49ers a first round pick. I just don't. So I'm still skeptical that there's a deal in place. Like, the 49ers are going to have to come to the podium if they make a deal and say, we know we lost Brandon Aiyuk, but we got this lineman nobody's heard of.
And picks.
But they're going to have to come to the podium knowing the team's not as good or they lost a key guy. And they're also going to have to come to the podium knowing that they let it out, that they want at least a first-round pick, and the Steelers said, hit the pipe.
I think no matter if the 49ers end up trading Aiyuk, almost no matter what the return is, I think it's a disaster for the 49ers for this coming season. Even if they get back a receiver, you're not going to get back someone who fits as well into this system as Aiyuk does. So if there's a trade in place and it ends up happening, I almost don't care what the return is. Obviously, there's better returns, there's worse returns. But if they trade Aiyuk at this stage, when you're in a do-or-die season coming up, your last season before you have to pay your quarterback like $60 million, it's a disaster. It's a failure. It's a mistake, and the Niners need to be criticized for such if that happens, which is what makes this so interesting. And when I first saw the report from Ian Rappaport, I was shocked because the Niners, if they don't want to trade Aiyuk, they don't have to do anything. The fact that they've reportedly agreed to, in principle, to the trade of Aiyuk to the Steelers, it makes no sense because the Niners can just say, sorry, Brandon, we're not trading you. Play on the fifth-year option or sign for 26. That's all you have to do.
Or stay at home, Grandy.
Yeah,
I don't want that, but that would be Aiyuk
forfeit all your money.
I did stand on business.
Yeah.
I turned down that. I'm here. I'm not showing up. And then how would that go to week 8?
Yeah, he won't stand on business. Okay. I mean, it makes no sense to stand on business. $800,000 a week for a guy who's made $12 million so far, and you're going to get 14.1 even if you just show up on this deal. No, and I do wonder, Grandy, about what player they get back because you might be mad up front, but if they get an interior lineman, somebody who turns out to be really good and somebody who really helps you, and you start out 6-1, and Aiyuk is a Steeler, and they're 2-5, and you're 6-1, and whatever player you got back, and you got a second-round pick, and you got a future fifth, and all the rest of it, I do think that the outrage up front would be worse than what could be coming down the road if you got a player who comes in and actually helps you.
If the 49ers trade Brandon Aiyuk and the package they get back isn't good, because it won't be.
You're not getting an all-pro back.
Right.
No doubt.
And Aiyuk's an all-pro.
Right. To me, what they're saying is it got to the point where it's not worth it. Like, that would acknowledge that it's a distraction. That would acknowledge that something's going on that they feel is really going to impact the team negatively during the season, and they just don't even want to go there. Like, that's what, if they end up trading Brandon Aiyuk, then that tells me it got so bad that they thought it would have leaked into the season somehow, some way, maybe in the locker room, and it wasn't going to be beneficial.
Maybe part of it is even if, say, Aiyuk ultimately caved and signed for $26 million, maybe they were worried at that point that even then it still might not be great.
It's not a bad point.
Because, I mean, if you're Aiyuk and the Niners come to you and say, we're not trading you no matter what, you're either signing this $26 million extension per year or you're playing on the fifth-year option. I mean, Aiyuk might ultimately decide to sign the $26 million, but he's probably not going to be too happy about it.
He has not caught one pass this all off season. No,
I'm sorry.
From we got some big ones from Brock Purdy. You can't tell me. I don't care if this is high school. That doesn't matter. Now they could go out here. Let's just say he gets back like when Bosa. But continuity. That was Evan's word. This is everything. The epitome of non-continuity. Like, he hasn't caught one ball this offseason for Brock. To me, that means something.
Yeah. I mean, it was what happened with Bosa last year, right? Kind of took him a few weeks to get going.
And Debo the year before when we were all like, that wasn't your best season.
Came in out of shape.
Yeah, man.
Although Shanahan saying yesterday he's not worried. He knows Aiyuk is going to be in shape, and whenever he does come back, assuming he does, he'll be ready to go.
LA Fitness, Div. Yeah. Well, he's out there on the side where Jimmy was.
Exactly, on the kiddie field.
What about Jimmy throwing shade yesterday? When I was in, that's good to be here. They let me be myself. That bothered me.
Jimmy, whatever. It's a wrap. I mean, Jimmy's in the rear view mirror.
Okay.
Jimmy's like, the ex trying to tell you like what you're doing is wrong or this and that. It's like hit the pike, as Steiny would say. I mean, that's in the rear view mirror. You got no bearing on any of this.
It is true though that to me it's telling of the way the kind of coach Kyle Shanahan is. Jimmy Garoppolo's a guy that Kyle Shanahan didn't deem good enough to not toe the company line. And so Shanahan was like, this guy needs to hit the pike. For all we know, he likes Purdy, and Purdy toes the line, but maybe he doesn't like him as much as we all think.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
One more year like last year, then he's got no choice to like him like we think. And if he goes
so sure about that.
Well,
That's
if he goes for more than 4,000 and he takes you back to the Super Bowl and you happen to lose again, then you like him the way you like him. And the other part of it is you're in a spot, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, although remember, when they paid Jimmy Garoppolo, he was the highest paid quarterback in football. So it's not like he didn't put a ring on it.
Oh, man.
He put a ring on it.
For 5 games.
Exactly. And then, turned out to be a pretty good choice in the short term.
Went to Super Bowl.
Jimmy got you to the Super Bowl, and then you saw Jimmy's warts, and you realized, okay, we need to do better. And then you made a mistake with Trey Lance, and then you got, quote-unquote, lucky with Brock Purdy. But when you get lucky with Brock Purdy, I do think that Kyle realizes what he has with Brock Purdy, and you realize that, it's not so easy as to get a high first-round pick and see a quarterback and pick him and like him. It's easier to pay a guy and then deal with whatever you have around him, I think.
The one thing, and Grandi used this term, and this is where I think maybe they differ. You said, this is a do-or-die season. I don't think they look at it like that. I think they look at last year was an important season. Next year is going to be an important season. And like the one thing I keep coming back to, they know they got to pay. They know they got to pay Purdy, or that's certainly on the horizon. So here comes Aiyuk, and they know they knew at the end of the season that regardless of what they paid Aiyuk or what they could get him for, whether it was 25 or 30, that if they got Aiyuk back into the fold, how long would it be for? 1 year, because we all were under the assumption that after 1 year, Aiyuk or Debo would have to go. So maybe they're thinking, we know one of them's got to go at the end of this upcoming season, and we've now been thrown a curveball because Aiyuk is not taking the money that we thought he would take. So, you know what? We got to make that decision 1 year early. It stinks. We didn't anticipate it, but the silver lining is then you get to at least see Purdy quarterback a team that he's more likely to be quarterbacking 2 years from now.
I get that, but I think this coming season is too important for them to be willing to maybe take a hit for this coming season and maybe benefit them down the road. Like if they're thinking about beyond this season, obviously you don't want to completely empty your cupboard for future seasons. But if you're not doing everything you can to try to win this coming season, if that's putting up with an upset Aiyuk for a year, forcing him to play on the 5th-year option, then letting him walk, or whatever the case is, signing him to an extension, then trading Debo in a year, I think whatever drama follows that situation is worthwhile, considering it gives you the best chance to try to win now before you're spending $60 million on your quarterback.
And I don't think that they really want to see, like, in advance what Brock Purdy will be like with a lesser roster. I think that you can examine Brock Purdy in a vacuum beyond, the reality of what may come when you don't have Debo and Christian and George is gone and Trent retires and Brandon's gone. I do think that you have the ability to recognize what he can be even in that vacuum. And can he be Jordan Love? Can he be Patrick Mahomes? Well, you hope he can be, because those guys are now elevating lesser skill position players. I know that you've got Kelsey in Kansas City, but Green Bay is a great example, I think, of where the Niners are going, which is all your guys in the skill spots are on rookie deals. Running back, tight end, wide receiver. You pay your quarterback $55, and you pay the rest of them a combined $20, and then you feel like if you are an offensive guru like Kyle is and like Matt LaFleur is, you can make that work.
Like Andy Reid has, because they're no
Exactly.
longer, they're doing it. They're big holdouts, but they're doing it and they're winning. But I told Stoney this, and I mean it real quick here. I think
Take your
Kyle and
time.
company already know what they got in Brock. These 17 games in the playoffs, oh, do they matter? Hell yes. But you don't think they got a pretty good indication of just his pluses and minuses? Like, this season means a lot. But come on, guys. They got 2 years' worth in playoff games in the Super Bowl to look at Brock Purdy. So when Stoney says we get a better gauge of him, without Aiyuk, I almost feel like they already know that.
They know what?
His limitations and projections in regard to can he get it done if he doesn't have an Aiyuk. But I will say this to that. Those 3 games without Debo and Trent Williams for whatever, your boy looked overwhelmed. And they lost all 3 games, though.
Different
I'll just leave that there.
circumstances. If the kicker makes a kick that the
okay.
kicker should make,
All right.
that's a win.
Cleveland.
Yes.
All right.
Cincinnati was a scheduled loss. They were coming off a bye.
And the defense couldn't stop your boy. That was one of the best
and
offensive
that was
performances
at the
of season.
end of your whole run up to the bye. They were off a bye. You were in your last game before the
Minnesota
bye.
was bad, though, from Brock.
Minnesota was bad.
okay.
Yeah. Minnesota
McCaffrey
was
also
shaky.
fumbled that first possession, if you remember that. They were about to get a
Super
touchdown.
Bowl, not the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so
Both of them.
we can micromanage any of it, and I'm not
right.
going to sit here and be a Brock apologist because that role's taken on this show from 2 to 6.
I love it. Shots fired.
He's not here today, don't worry.
Yeah.
He's
Our
on his way
guy.
back from Tahoe, and I know he's listening. Mark, I love you. We were exchanging texts earlier this morning. I sent him a picture because it was bagel time
If you
this
want to know
morning.
about Mark, go to IG. You'll find what he's doing.
Yeah,
That's
beautiful
what I
trip in
love
Tahoe,
about it.
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. But I think that they already know about Brock Purdy, and they're going to pay Brock Purdy. This whole idea of maybe they won't. Maybe they won't.
Well, if he fell on his face, Dibs, then the 60 was that. That ain't happening.
How big of a fall on his face does it have to be? If he just has a so-so season, they still don't have any choice but to pay him what he wants.
23 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. And they lose in the first round, which they almost did
he
last year.
still gets 45.
Oh, you think so?
No doubt.
What else are they going to do?
Exactly.
Well, wow.
And that's the thing. Are they going to go out and pay Dak?
They're going to trade for Kirk Cousins.
He's washed. You need to get off that ship.
I don't need to get off it. Kyle needs to get off it.
You need to get off it.
Here's the other thing I was thinking. If Kyle Shanahan knows,
Big finish coming.
Shanahan knows, you know what?
Lay out.
We ain't gonna we get it's Debo or Aiyuk. It ain't both. We know that.
Yeah.
Whether it's now or in a year, we know that.
I believe that.
Fine. And guess who else ain't gonna be around when Purdy's money kicks in? Trent Williams. So they might be looking at it as though, why would we give 2 guys a lot of money who ain't gonna be here in 2 years? The minute you give Trent guaranteed money, he's retiring.
Because you have to win the Super Bowl this year,
That's
Steiny.
what
that
you
part of
think.
it. No.
That's the way you think.
So you're willing to hurt your chances to win this year just to, I don't even know what the goal of that is. To have an easier out for your star wide receiver?
The goal would be so you can be better in 2 years.
I don't
Because-
care about 2 years from now.
You don't.
Randy, you're speaking
But
my language,
front
man.
offices
If the
must
Niners are valuing 2 years from now over this coming year, then that's a major problem.
not
Stoney,
for a
thank
front
you.
office.
I feel so
That's what
complete,
front
Randy.
offices
my
deal with
gosh.
all the time on 95.7.
Oh, brother.
The game.
They're longtime friends.
Let me tell you something.